after you start to experience some real connection and attachment in your marriage, that authentic interdependence in the one flesh relationship that you've been wanting, there's going to be that temptation to not only want more, but to want it more quickly than what is God's timing. So your motives will be right. I mean, who doesn't want more good in their marriage? But by striving and doing more to make that happen, that will drive everything off the rails if you switch back into masculine mindset. It won't be authentic, so it won't last. Being a feminine creature is a journey of self-discovery, healing, and recovery. It's not a checklist of tips, tricks, and strategies to get your way or something you want. I know there's this whole movement that says act feminine to get a man or to get what you want instead of doing the healing work of becoming your authentic feminine self to please God. You can look the part by talking the talk or by dressing to what you believe is feminine or modest. You can act the part by walking the part with feminine mannerisms, but that's all it will end up being, is a part you're playing. So, because you can act feminine to get a desired result from a man, you have to be careful because manipulation is a very different skill than a shrewd feminine aptitude born from a real, authentically healed daughter of the King. Acting feminine is the deception of a brother, and your sin will be tracking with you. Numbers 32 verses 20 through 24. You know the saying, fake it until you make it? Well, it doesn't work inside of relationships. It might work in the world, but it doesn't apply to anything or anyone inside of God's kingdom. When we take back our real selves by healing, it's got to be done God's way, because it's warfare. You are taking back kingdom ground that was lost, and Satan doesn't like that. The difference between embodying femininity and acting feminine is like when people say they're Christians and they do religious works, but they're not actually born again. They claim to know Jesus Christ as their Savior, but He doesn't know them as the Lord of their life. They look like, sound like, act like Christians to fit into an institutional church paradigm, but they're not authentic. And in Matthew 7 verses 22 through 23, Jesus says you might be able to fake it with other people, but you can't fake it with Him. And that means if you try and learn feminine tips, tricks, and strategies to make your husband change to get your own way, even though you might think it's what's best for anybody, and you might even be right about that, that plan is going to backfire all over you because you cannot keep up the act of fake femininity. The real unhealed you will always break through. And it's going to be during stress and conflict, because that's always when the truth comes out. If you're married to a wolf in sheep's clothing, this mindset of deception plays right into his hand. A wolf in sheep's clothing is who I describe as a husband type number 3. I've put a link in the description box about the 3 different kinds of husbands if you're unsure about which one you're married to. So if you're married to a wolf, deception is his gig. So you're helping him in his strategy to abuse you. And not only that, but that pleases Satan, not God. And what's worse is that if you're married to a type 2 husband, that guy who's healthy and authentic, but he's either wounded or doesn't understand femininity, or both, you can do a lot of damage. And God will hold you accountable for the misuse of all that feminine power He put inside of you. Your solution is to completely shift your focus off your husband and realign your focus to be only on your own heart. Here's a different approach to taking the log out of your eye. You know I say that there's a masculine way and a feminine way to read the scriptures. This is a feminine way when it comes to your marriage. You can completely diminish the focus on your husband's actions just by putting your heart and soul in the center focus. Unless you're invited to pray for him, unless he wants your help with something, and you'll know it, you won't have to guess, because men don't beat around the bush or hint. He'll be straight up about that. Make space in your schedule to be with God, not to pray about what activities to do, and not to pray about any of your husband's problems. If that keeps surfacing in your mind, you're going to have to really pray that Psalm of David's about your own heart and soul. You just want to be present with God. And the masculine way of being with God is definitely about activities and striving. But your way, our way, the way God created femininity is not like the masculine heart. Learning to embody your femininity will begin with learning to just sit with God in his presence and just wait on him. Self-care is one of the primary components of the feminine embodiment. This is what God means in 1 Peter 3, verses 4 through 5. It's not the one to the exclusion of the other. There's an order to loving the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul, and strength. The heart, mind, and soul come first, and this is why God addresses this section specifically to his daughters. You don't start with the outer self, with your hair and clothing and jewelry. Dressing down or dressing modestly is not what he's talking about. He means for us to get the priority right. Dressing modestly as a code or a religious rule will not heal your heart. It's the wrong priority. Estrogen operates from the inside experience of the heart, mind, and soul with God, and then it manifests on the outside through the strength on our body. When you allow yourself to be present with God in the moment, in real time, he'll speak to your heart. He'll show you where you need to heal. He'll show you where he wants to work inside you. I've done a video series about presence, grace, and discretion. I'll put it in the end card. If you're living completely in your masculine mindset, always rushing in a fast-paced life that's full of striving and over-functioning to complete one goal after another, your feminine heart will stay hidden. In order to want to heal your femininity, you have to be able to see her. And that means you have to slow down to a stop and allow God to be in your space. He is not going to chase you around and force himself on you. That's what a predator does to a woman. God's not that. He's your father. It's your responsibility to stop and let him into the space of your heart, mind, and soul so that he can heal those broken-hearted parts and he can recreate you into the feminine daughter he meant for you to be.